with a 25-31 record. Welcome back. Tutel Nuanez, 129 ESPN Missoula, broadcasting to you live. Kurtz Polaris Studios, Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway or Highway 83 in Sealy. Online, kurtzpolaris.com. Everybody out there listening on ESPN Radio, we thank you. If you want to listen anywhere in the world, you can hit us up on the live stream. Streams presented by Opportunity Bank. And maybe you're watching up there on the SWX television, SWX channel 199 on Charter TV, channel 18.3 here in Western Montana, a variety of other extensions of ABC Fox. So I appreciate you if you are watching up there on SWX. And if you need a way to watch us and you're not at a TV or you can't find SWX, you can always download the Watch SWX app, or you can check out that great YouTube channel that Tommy Evans has got us rolling on now. Just go to YouTube, type in Tutel Nuanez. Stream looks great. Colter Nuanez here. Ryan Tutel, he's out. He's in the Philippines for the rest of the week leading up to next week. Can't wait to have him back, but we're still getting by just fine without him. I do miss him a little bit, but we won't tell him that when he gets back. I'm already planning a fun segment. All the cool sports things that Ryan Tutel missed while he was on the other side of the globe. So that'll be a fun one. Marching through our coverage of the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships, a phenomenal event. If you missed segment one, had interviews with Sterling Raynaud of Montana, as well as Justin Fields and Aiden Reed of Southern Utah. Aiden Reed, a Helena High native, Southern Utah, wins the men's championship on the team side. And I want to flesh out that a little bit more because a couple really impressive performances by some Montana State kids, including a great story on Derek Olson. But then we also have a couple other pieces of audio from some of the record setters. So we'll start at the very top here because Matt Baxter, and he's a guy from Northern Arizona. You might ask yourself, okay, well, what's the local hook of Northern Arizona? Well, this kid is the best cross-country runner in the country. He won the cross-country national championships. He is the favorite in the men's 5K. The 5,000 meters was such an impressive race to watch. Matt Baxter got out and set kind of a slow pace. If you're listening to the first segment, you heard Aiden Reed talk about just how good Tyler Day is, and Tyler Day is elite, no doubt. But he set the pace, and then he basically sprinted to the finish. His time was actually about a minute slower than what his personal best time had been coming into the meet, but his last lap, absolutely ridiculous. Sprinted all the way to the finish. So he will be among the favorites. His top time in the 5K so far this year, 13:25 and some change. One of the great cross-country runners in the country, Northern Arizona's Tyler Day. Here's right after winning the men's 5K.
So first of all, take me through the last lap. I saw you looking, you knew he was on your hip for the whole time, but then you opened it up.
Yeah.
What gave you the confidence, and then how were you able to finish that thing?
So for us, even though sometimes Jack can be seen as an individual, we treat this as a team, and we've been defending team champions for a number of years. So my entire thought, thanks man, was to definitely secure that top spot because I know the guys are doing their homework. And so I knew he was on me, so I just tried to buy my time. And then over up on the last lap, didn't know how he was, but my coach wasn't really freaking out, so I must have been pretty clear and went through the line and see what other damage the Lumberjacks did, and I think we did pretty good.
I think you guys got at least 4 that scored, maybe 5. So
well, that's all we asked for.
That's what you needed, yeah. Were you surprised when Aiden stayed with you? I mean, you guys were kind of in the pack, and you moved out in front. Were you surprised that he pushed you on your hip the whole time?
I mean, no. Southern Utah has they're the same school, it's like type of schooling as us. They're really distance-oriented, totally. And they definitely kick butt in that. So I knew they're going to definitely have a guy that was a scrapper, and that's definitely Aiden Reed. But I was really impressed for how long he held for doing that 10K the other day. But yeah, did a heck of an effort, so he definitely pushed me to that.
How do you continue to push yourself? Because I know that you've already won national championships and you have the best time in the country. So how do you stay motivated?
My teammates. Yeah, I mean, we won the cross-country team title. I didn't do any individual stuff, you know. And through that team, we had Jordy Beamish win the individual title this year in the mile, and HR win the 3K, and just it's just the history of NAU, the coaching staff, and the teammates that really just pushed me at the end of the day.
Yeah, we've had a couple NAU athletes on our show. Paige Gilchrist, she's from here in Missoula, so she came in.
In Australia.
Yeah. Well, so you guys have such a nationally renowned distance program. What about it? Why are you guys so elite?
I mean, part of it is the location. It's Flagstaff, Arizona. Our winters are not that harsh, even though we just had Snowmageddon when we were in Montana State.
Right.
Snowed 3 feet in Arizona, which I know for some places that's usual stuff, but this is Arizona, Right. And then I think it's just the guys that we recruit and the guys that just want to be in Flagstaff. Flagstaff's not for everybody, and so just having guys that really embrace the team culture and really just like to just hustle and just be in pain with the rest of it just makes everything all great.
How do you readjust now to kind of focus on what's next, the regionals and the nationals?
Yeah, right now I'm done with school, so thank the Lord. So I have to have that to worry about. It's just kind of settle down and then just kind of put my mind on the 10K, 5K double for regionals and train with other guys for regionals and try to represent NAU on another big.
He will certainly represent Northern Arizona. If you've never watched one of these meets, it's just astounding the way Northern Arizona scores in these distance runs. In the men's 5K, Tyler Day came in at 14:43. Brogdov Hasty was third. Ryan Rafe, fourth. Blaze Farrow, fifth. And Luis Grinjavala was sixth. So 5 of the top 6, which is good enough for Adam Up, 21, 24, 27 team points. So Aiden Reed sneaking in there and getting that second place finish. That's what won in Southern Utah, the team championship. So testament to the kid from Helena for hanging with Tyler Day. If you wonder why I call him Matt Baxter at the beginning, well, that's just how many elite runners Northern Arizona's had. Matt Baxter was the guy who preceded Tyler Day and was their national championship kid from a couple years back. So they kind of all muddled together because they are so elite. But definitely a profound upset by Southern Utah to win that thing. And a really valiant effort by Montana to get into the top 3 of the team standings. Another girl worth highlighting, Tawny Moore. She ran a 13.11 in the 100-meter hurdles, shattered her own conference record, shattered the Big Sky Championship record, shattered the Dornblazer field record, and that was only part of her workload for the day. She also ran the 200 and the 4x400, exhausted by the end of running in all those heats, but one of the great hurdle runners in the country, no doubt about it, 13.11, currently ranked in the top 15 in the nation. She will be a regional qualifier. Here's Tawny Moore.
First of all, take us through the hurdles race. It was an incredibly fast heat. I think 5 girls went under 14 seconds. Did you know it was going to be a fast heat, and did you think that pushed you?
I knew it was going to be fast. There's a lot of really strong girls in this conference. Just going into it, I was just looking forward to being pushed by them and having them as my push at the start. My better half of my race is my second half, so I thrive off of that competition and that pressure. So it was really nice to have them alongside me.
Before the race, what's going through your mind? As somebody that already holds the conference record, how were you able to take the conference record down again?
I just thought about how much of a journey this has been and how blessed I am to be here and have come back from injuries and many adversities, and it just kept me going just to know that I can continue to get better if I push myself, and having those girls alongside me in this conference and my teammates and my family, having their push and their inspiration really helped me a lot. And I just love hurdles. I love track and field so much, so I just gave it all my heart and all my passion for my last senior race.
And to that effect, is your preparation coming into a race like this similar, even though you kind of been there, done that before? Is it kind of similar to the past, or do you approach it any differently, knowing that maybe this heat is a little bit faster than you faced in the past?
I just go into it looking to have a good race, have fun. Of course, being serious and being controlling your emotions, but just looking forward to that thrill and that rush to run with my friends and my opponents, but they're also my friends as well. As far as preparation, it's just, for me, it's just kind of relaxing the mind, staying mentally in control, enjoying the experience, but still having it all under control.
When you see that time pop up on the board, what goes through your mind?
Well, I cried a little bit. Just so many years have gone into this, and I just every single year I keep surprising myself, and I have a big support group and could not do it without any of them. But when I seen that time, I just knew that I need to keep doing this. This is my passion. This is what I'm made for. And seeing that just really it made it all the worthwhile this last few years that I've been in college.
I mean, what other sport can you accomplish something so great that it brings you to your knees in tears? Amazing. And sometimes it's from the physical exhaustion, but sometimes it's just from setting a goal, making a goal, and achieving a goal, which is just tremendous. And on that note, I would argue that the most brutal race in track and field is the 400-meter hurdles on the men's side of things. The 400 in itself is for sure in the mix as one of the most brutal races. But the 400-meter hurdles, you got to sprint the 400, but he's got hurdles in the way as well. And Drake Schneider burst onto the scene a year ago, won the Big Sky Conference in the outdoor championships in the 400-meter hurdles as a true freshman. And this year, there's a video going around the internet from the SEC championships of I think it's an Arkansas kid diving across the line at the photo finish to get the win by just the slightest of margins. That's exactly what happened in the men's 400-meter hurdles. Drake Schneider had to lean so hard that he fell on his face, but he wins the race by 0.01 seconds, 1/100th of a second to repeat as a sophomore. Drake Schneider already etching out a legacy as one of the great long hurdlers in the history of the Big Sky Conference, only a sophomore at Montana State. Here's him after his Bobcat victory.
Take us through the last 60 meters of that. It seemed like you were ahead, then behind, and then finished it. How'd you finish it?
So 60 meters left. I'm pretty sure I had him by about a meter. And then coming off the second to last hurdle, I saw him fly by me. And I knew it was going to come down to who had the better last hurdle. Because if I stuttered that one or didn't hit it right, I knew I'd lose a lot of ground. And then at the end, I mean, honestly, I didn't know that I had won. It was that close, and it was just a great race. And we both put down some awesome times for both of us.
What were you thinking right before you were about to cross the finish line?
I better have a good lean. But I was also making sure that I ran through and didn't start leaning too soon. Because if you start leaning too soon, you put the brakes on before you hit the line. So, I don't know, I just gave it everything I had and kind of just crossed my fingers.
Before the race, when you're getting ready, what's going through your mind, especially since you are the defending champion in this event?
I was really nervous. I think running from the front with the big target on your back is the scariest thing because you're expected to win and you know everybody is looking at you to be the one to beat. So I was really nervous. I knew it was going to be tough with him and Mac Baxter because they've both gone to regionals before in this event and they're both really good hurdlers. So I was nervous. But I also had to come in with some confidence because I was the defending champ, so can't come in too scared.
School record, did you think you had that in you when this season started?
When the season started, yeah. I thought I had it last year, but I never quite got it. But the bigger thing for me is I beat my dad's 400 hurdle record when he was a collegiate. And for me right now, that's a bigger deal. That I get to say I finally was faster than my dad. So that's a really proud moment for me.
Where did he run at?
He ran Division III in Wisconsin, Platteville. He ran 51.44, so I finally got him.
Maybe just looking at your progression that you've had between the freshman and sophomore season, now you're going into a regional appearance and maybe a shot at finishing top 12. Just maybe looking at your improvement between the 2 years, what have you seen?
I definitely feel like I'm quite a bit stronger. In the weight room, I can see that I'm stronger. But just at practice, I'm able to handle bigger workloads with Jay this year than I was last year. And I just, after indoor 400s, when I podiumed, I knew, like, the speed is there. It's better than last year, and I have the chance to go out and run a lot faster.
There you go, Drake Schneider after his 400-meter hurdles victory. We'll keep marching on through this sound. Two more to share from you. One from Derek Olson, a hurdler from Montana State. One from Marin Lowry from University of Montana. Derek Olson, fascinating story. Played football at Rocky Mountain College. He's a Helena native. Came to Montana State, tried to transfer in and play on the football team. Wasn't able to get that done. Wasn't able to get onto the football team. But instead, walks on to the track team. The impetus being he smoked through the short hurdles, the 110 hurdles at the MSU Invite. And he won the thing unattached, wasn't running for anybody. So they said, well, if you're beating everybody in this event, maybe you should come run for us. Well, then he goes out and runs 14-1 and some change, the third fastest time in the history of Montana State track and field, even though he's only been on the team for a couple months. Here is Derek Olson about his rapid emergence to earn a podium spot.
Start there, then joined the track team late. How'd you get ready for the championships, and how were you able to get on the podium?
Just working with Jay. day in and day out. You know, we work speed, and then we get a day off, just relax, and then it's meet time. So then it's just all me from there, trying to go out and do what I can, you know.
At these championships, there's always the delay right before the race, and everybody's pacing and warming up. What's going through your mind before you get in the blocks? I try to just clear my mind of everything. I sit down and listen to my music, try to zone everyone out, you know, just get my own good mindset. I don't know, it seems to do the trick for me, so just clearing everything out, trying to get my head in the game and walk in, you know. What made you return to the sport? What made you want to come from football and come run track? You know, originally I came down here to try and play football at the Cats, so I was doing nothing for like the first couple weeks that I was here, just lifting and stuff, and I don't know, they didn't want me to play football, so I got bored of sitting in my room, so I tried out for the track team, and Jay gave me a shot, and that's all I needed.
Hey, what were you listening to today before the races?
I was listening to Ski Mask, the Slump God, Nuketown. It's my pump-up song right there, so yeah.
You got a top 8 indoor finish for the Big Sky Conference Indoor Championships. What's it like for you to be able to jump up into a podium position when maybe it wasn't expected from outsiders, but you were able to jump up into the top 3?
Man, it's incredible. I've been running on a hurt hamstring all week. Had to wrap it up, you know, a little uncomfortable. Just did nothing all week, didn't run, didn't do anything. Leading up to coming here, we got here the first day, and I went over one hurdle, and he said I was done. So, I don't know, it's a huge jump. Really excited to be here right now. What did you like about the race today? Clean race. Yeah. It's fun. There's so much energy coming into like these college track meets compared to high school. It's great atmosphere. All the guys are really nice, really friendly, good competition, and yeah, it's just been a blast all around.
The final piece of sound we'll share from you from the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships, Marin Lowry. She battled hard and was able to tactfully place third in the 1,500 meters. It was a very strategic race. The Tucson, Utah girls boxed everybody out, then outran everybody, but Marin Lowry was able to emerge from the pack, bump to the outside, and sprint her way to the podium. She's an Iowa State transfer, so definitely vindication for Marin Lowry, running a great time in the 1,500 meters, 4:35 and some change. Here's Marin Lowry about her transfer, about earning a spot on the podium, and about the strategy of the race. Amazing. She could break down the strategy in and out by the meter, as you'll hear right here. Marin Lowry, University of Montana women's track team. So take me through that race. It seemed like the first lap you were kind of boxed in, but then you seemed to be on the outside. How much did that help you when you got on the outside?
I think for visibility reasons it helped. I just like to be in a position where I can respond if a move is made, and that's just championship style racing. It's tactical and it's all about position. It doesn't matter how fast or how slow you're running. And so, you know, I knew that going in, and I knew that I just had to stay calm if I found wherever I found myself in the race, so that it was on the outside or the inside. And I just happened to be on the inside, so I knew that as the race went on, I was like, okay, make your way to the outside, because more often than not, the inside doesn't really open up in a race like this, especially finals. So had to get around because I knew that top group was going to make a move. So kind of swung wide, which ideally I wouldn't like to do that, but it happened, and you just had to go with it, and no really like turning back after that. You just gotta like commit to whatever moves you make. So yeah.
You mentioned these championship races. Sometimes people are hesitant to make a move. The pack kind of stays together. When did you feel the race change?
Let's see, 400, 500, 600, 700, probably around, I remember around a K to go.
Okay.
That,
so you remember the race that detailed?
Yeah. If someone asks me like, okay, what happened, you know, you got to kind of go back, but I do remember. So it's probably K to go. And even like 450, I was like, okay, that top group is there. Just kind of assess how you're feeling, and I was like, I feel fine, you know, just go for it. So came up on NAU's shoulder. She kind of, I was told never to pass on a curve because you're wasting energy doing that. So I was like, okay, just be patient, wait for 300. Passed her at 300, and I was like, once you pass her, you just gotta go for it. You just gotta run with it. So run like you don't want her to pass you again. So I just had my eyes on the first girl, and I was just trying to close the gap. And then literally with 100 to go, you hit that wall in my legs. I was just keep pressing. And then the other SUU girl flew by me, and I was like, just keep going. And so, yeah. And I hit the line, and I was just kind of on the ground.
But you left it all out there.
Yeah.
Well, as a transfer then, coming to Missoula, do you feel vindicated? Do you feel like it was worth it to get on the podium at the championships here?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was a long year of uncertainty and really a lot of kind of ups and downs of getting my hopes up, but then being realistic of because I didn't know if I would have eligibility for this outdoor season, so it was a lot of be realistic, but also don't totally give up hope. So I felt like a crazy person because I was either super stoked about all right, you got one more outdoor season, let's go, and then there would be days where I'm like, I might not get it. This this might be over. So, all right, we're ready, Ben. Tears and just a lot of waiting and being patient. I feel like I got a slap in the face with patience, but completely worth it. Huge lessons learned, and so yeah.
Might not be over, right? I mean, you might have a shot at regionals.
Yeah, I think again, just kind of you gotta be patient. I feel like this whole thing has taught me how to be patient and just work hard through uncertainty. So.
Very cool. A lot of life lessons, a lot of outstanding accomplishments, and hope you learned a little something there, because I just think that these kids they're tremendous athletes, and they don't get a lot of coverage, but I think they deserve a lot of coverage because I think that the discipline it takes, the mental and physical elite gifts that it takes to be a top-level Division I track and field star, second to none. One of the great sports that we have. And perhaps the most pure sport. On the other side, I'm going to tell you more about how you can win a trip for two whitewater rafting with Adventure Missoula. 2 Nuanez, 129 ESPN Missoula.
Alpine Touch is legendary around the state of Montana for providing delicious seasonings for every grilling occasion. Now, Alpine Touch offers so much more, from a savory new barbecue sauce to spicy pepper blends to tasty barbecue rubs. In addition to the classic, Alpine Touch has a variety of seasoning salts for whatever you need to spice up. Now that the holidays are over, Alpine Touch makes a perfect thank you gift to show your friends and relatives you love them. Alpine Touch, available at retail locations around Montana or online at alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Hey folks, the best season of the year is upon us. That's right, it's tax return season, and there's one place to have the most fun and make that refund check stretch further than anywhere else: Selway Armory. Selway Armory has the largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories of anywhere around, and they have the expertise to go with it. It's not everywhere that you can shop local and save money, but Selway Armory will meet or beat any box store price, and your money stays in Montana. It's tax return time, so get more bang for your buck at Selway Armory. Visit online at selwayarmory.com. Springtime is the time to buy a new Polaris off-road vehicle. During the spring sales event, rebates go as high as $1,500 and financing is as low as 3.99%. Live your life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger, or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. Whatever you're looking for, now is the time to take your pick from the off-road's best-selling lineup. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $1,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris Spring Sales event at Kurtz Polaris. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Recreate the right way with Kurtz Polaris, online at kurtzpolaris.com. Offer valid in U.S. through 5/31/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
More bedrooms, a big yard, better commute. Whatever your reason to buy a new home, it's the right reason. In a tough housing market, the smartest thing you can do is pre-qualify for a loan before you start looking. Farmers State Bank makes it easier than ever to start the loan process with online checklists, forms, and calculators. Your dream home is out there. Get started today at farmersebank.com. Farmers State Bank, an equal housing lender and member FDIC.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here with Josh from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident and need help dealing with the insurance company, you should give The Advocates a call.
It doesn't cost anything at all to call, and I'd be happy to talk with you about your situation. You don't want to have to be dealing with contacting the insurance companies and setting up your claim. We can do that for you from start to finish. We'll take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give Josh a call, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers, but you deserve an advocate.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Broadcasting to you live. Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Ryan Tutel, he's still gone. He'll be back next week. Have no fear. Just one more week of dealing with me, talking to myself. But we do have some good hosts lined up for the rest of this week. Tucker Sargent's coming in on Wednesday to help out. Sounds like Regime Seabrook will be here Friday for sure, maybe Thursday as well. And still out there in search of a co-host for tomorrow if anybody knows anybody. We'll see. Tommy, what was that song you were just playing? That was good.
The band is called Bear's Den. They're playing in Missoula soon. The track was Emeralds.
Very good. Are you playing that on your new show?
Sure am.
Tommy Evans hosting the new show in the evenings on the trail. Starts at 6, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you could just go, this is easy, folks. This is the easiest way you can ever have a great night. Listen to Tutel and Nuanez from 4 to 6 right here, 102.9 ESPN Missoula, and then just click scan one up to 103.3 The Trail. Listen to Tommy Evans, the new show. It's a great show. Tommy debuts a bunch of music. He teaches me a bunch about music on there. He debuts a bunch of stuff and then shares it with the rest of the office, and it's fun, man. It's great.
I sure love the coffee trail that I've got from this studio across the hall to that one. You know, every day at 5:59, I go running over there really quick to get on air and slosh coffee all over the place. But thanks for the shameless plug, Coulter. Appreciate
it. Of course, dude. It's great. It's great stuff. We're running up against it. What else is new? I had to play all my interviews. What else is new? But we're gonna have Tutel and Nuanez back at least for an hour because Austin Tutel, he's on his way here. He just texted me. But before we do that, and before we get out to this last break of this first hour, I got to give you a little more details. I told you about it off the top, but we're going to do a text to win giveaway here this week. So what you need to do is you need to take the word of the day. The word of the day today is whitewater. You need to write it down, remember it, but you also need to text it to 200-8184. And anybody that gets all 5 word of the days by Friday in our archived text message giveaway will be entered to win a whitewater rafting trip for 2 through Adventure Missoula. So right now, 200-8184. Text the word of the day. It's whitewater. And stay tuned. Tutel and Nuanez the rest of the week. We'll give you the word of the day once per hour. I'm giving it to you way more today than I will the rest of the week. So shoot me a text, 200-8184. We'll enter you for a trip for 2 courtesy of Adventure Missoula. Fun giveaway. Hope you guys are ready for some whitewater rafting. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2. We're going to talk about those epic Game 7s in the NBA playoffs from yesterday, as well as maybe rehash my top 25 players with Austin Tutel, because I know he's got some gripes. I know he's got some beefs. Tutel and Nuanez back, at least for an hour. Austin Tutel in studio. Next.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
The Montana Club invites you to stop in for Club Cocktail Hour. Every day from 3 to 6, sip on $5 martinis. Get $1 off all wine and beer, including cool Montana micros. Enjoy $3 off all mouth-watering appetizers, or swing by Friday for Montini Night and perfectly mixed $5 top shelf martinis from 3 to close. It's time to relax at the Montana Club. Real Montana, real food on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hey everybody, here with my good friend Josh from the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, if I've been in an accident, how much is it going to cost me to hire you?
Well, we take cases on a contingency fee. And what that means for you is that if you're hurt in an accident, we only get paid if you make a recovery. You'll never owe us anything out of pocket.
What about the call for a consultation?
That's not a problem. We don't charge anything for an initial consultation, so you have absolutely nothing to risk by calling us.
If you're injured in a car accident, call the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Nothing says Florence coffee like a real huckleberry smoothie. Our real huckleberry smoothies are made with real huckleberries that grow high up on the mountainsides of Montana. Drive to any of our Flowco locations throughout western Montana and try a delicious real huckleberry smoothie. And visit us at florencecoffeeco.com.
The best flavor under the big sky. Florence Coffee Company.
8-2-tell Nuanez here. Can't tell you how many times we've heard the face for radio joke since we came on SWX television, but it's been a fun endeavor so far.
And now our esteemed producer Tommy is pushing the envelope even further. We got our own YouTube channel.
That's right. If you want to watch us every day from your computer, your tablet, your cell phone, you can check out 2Tell Nuanez on YouTube.
2Tell Nuanez, live every weekday from 4 to 6 in the afternoons on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula, SWX Montana statewide, and now around the planet Earth on YouTube.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Well, Colter Nuanez, 109 ESPN Missoula. Grizzlies finished with a flourish on their home track on Saturday at Dornblaser Field. After missing the men's 400-meter finals in disappointing fashion, Montana senior sprinter Sterling Renault earned redemption by running an unforgettable leg on the 4x400-meter relay team. Renault, a Missoula native, helped the Grizz relay team reel in the competition, and true freshman Xavier Melise finished the championship sprint, leading the Grizz to the long relay championship gold medal in the final event of the Big Sky Conference Outdoor Track and Field Championships. The Grizz men took third as a team as a result of that 10 points. On the women's side, Hannah Fowler, a Missoula Big Sky product, broke her school record in the hammer throw once again, throwing 209 feet 10 inches to win the event by more than 17 feet. She was named the meet's most outstanding female performer. In the team competition, the Sacramento State women won the outdoor title for the 8th time in 12 years, behind Tawny Moore's record-shattering time of 13.11 seconds in the 100 hurdles and 18 points in the 100 and 200 meters, respectively, from Emily Morgan. Weber State's women finished second ahead of Southern Utah. And in the men's team competition, Southern Utah, upset for the ages, won its first ever Big Sky title, edging out perennial powerhouse and 8-time defending champion Northern Arizona for the team title. And finally, the Montana women's softball team, their season came to a close on Friday with an 8-2 loss to Sac State at the Big Sky Conference Championships. The Grizz finished the season 25-31. You always know that there's somebody cooler than me and Ryan in the studio when Tommy's playing unique original beats.
Or just if one of you is gone.
If one of us is gone. That's right. We always get the switch up. It's like the 80s funk music hour when Regime comes in. I don't know what kind of stuff Tucker gets. He doesn't get anything good, just funny stuff. 2Tell Nuanez, 129 ESPN Missoula. Broadcasting to you live, Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway, as well as Highway 83 in Sealy. Or online, kurtzpolaris.com. Well, that's a cover song too, Tommy? Wow. I'm just trying to get through my reads, and then I realize I'm listening to like electronic Van Halen. Tommy, do you like Van Halen?
Oh, love Van Halen.
See, I never know with you, Tommy, because we're always like, I always throw it out there and ask you, and it's always 50-50.
Well, Van Halen doesn't suck. So much of the stuff you like sucks so hard.
That's not true. You just think it sucks because you haven't listened to it.
Yeah, because I'm listening to stuff that doesn't suck.
Dude, Tommy, I can't figure you out sometimes either. I respect your music palette a lot, and you like for how young you are. You have a very broad knowledge, an expansive knowledge of music that's very impressive. But also, there's certain things like when I hear you guys talking about music on the show, I just get surprised. I'm like, really? Tommy doesn't like such and such, or oh wow, huh? Like sometimes you surprise me. Anyway,
it's the downside of having a grade A taste, Austin.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know what to say about it.
Tutel Nuanez, Austin Tutel in studio. So we got Tutel and Nuanez back, just sitting on opposite sides of the desk. Ryan Tutel, 7,737 miles away. He's very proud that he knew exactly how far it was. That's why I keep using that special number. But he'll be gone throughout the rest of the week. He'll be back next week, and we will keep on marching on without him. If you missed anything from the first hour, interviews from across the Big Sky Conference, including Sterling Raynaud, local kid from right here in Missoula, Montana, runs for the University of Montana men's track team. We also heard from Aiden Reed, a Helena High product who runs at Southern Utah. Southern Utah won their first Big Sky championship in school history. Also heard from Tyler Day, the elite 5K runner in the country from Northern Arizona. Also heard from Tony Moore, who shattered an all-conference record in the 100-meter hurdles from Weaver State. And a variety of others, including Drake Schneider and Derek Olson from Montana State, and Marin Lowry from the University of Montana. If you missed any of that, you can check it out on the podcast. Podcast available on iTunes or the TuneIn Radio app or on Spotify. Tommy's got that hooked up. That's pretty cool. Or you can find it on the station website, 1029ESPN.com. Podcast available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Want to check us out online, 1029ESPN.com. That's where you can find that podcast as well as where you can find the stream. Stream's presented by Opportunity Bank. Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. We're going to be talking all NBA all hour long this second hour. 2 epic Game 7s yesterday in the NBA playoffs to solidify the NBA Final Four. And so if you want to give us a call, you want to argue a little bit with us, against us, whatever, 329-1899. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. Before we get to this NBA, we got to keep talking about this thing with Tommy, though, because here's the thing about Tommy. I get that everybody has a different music palette, and I know that I'm never going to swing you on John Mayer, Tommy. I get it. That's fine. It's over with. It's all good. But I know what kind of music you like, and so there's some bands that I feel like you've only consumed the cliche, the
well-known,
the mainstream cliche version of that band, and not the in-depth. I know if you just listen to it, you would like Alice in Chains, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, Metallica. These are all bands that I know that you just haven't consumed, and I think you just need to consume them more.
That's fine. I mean, I can do that, you know.
I just think you'd be into it.
That's fine. Definitely not the Chili Peppers, though.
Why? What's your beef with the Chili Peppers?
I just they make me feel hostile, man. I just don't like them. I want to fight Anthony Kiedis so bad.
They do have a song called "Fight Like a Brave." Maybe that could amp you up. You
I
try
just
to
don't
punch
dig
the
him.
speaker.
I don't. Yeah, I will throw Anthony Kiedis into the speaker. I just don't get it. I don't
Tommy,
like him.
You and I need to just sit down and listen to a couple songs, and let me just point out a couple little details that you may still not like them, but I think you'll appreciate a couple little things about them.
Okay, yeah, I'm totally
Namely,
into that.
Jonathan Anthony Frusciante is.
Yeah, do you listen to John Frusciante
incredible.
by himself?
I don't know. Maybe, I guess.
I'm going to send you a song that you are going to now start playing on the trail. I know you're going to, because you're going to love it so much. John Frusciante is virtuoso, bro. He's one of the greats ever.
He's my single favorite musician of all time.
All right, I'll check it out.
He's got like 10 solo albums.
The arms are open, Austin.
Beautiful.
Good.
That's what I like about
he's
him.
way more accepting to his suggestions from you than he is from me.
Well, that's because he knows that the music is my thing.
Yeah. We should just turn this into a music show. Why wouldn't we?
If I'm on, we could for sure.
Incubus coming to the Kettle House Amphitheater, September 18th, I believe.
Love it.
Can't wait. Austin Tutel and I have been listening to music together since we were old enough to listen to music. We had this great art teacher. Shout out to Andrea Burke if she's by chance ever in the world listening. But she was awesome. She had great influence on both of our lives. But she used to let us make mixtapes. The only caveat was the mixtapes couldn't have swear words. So we used to make mixtapes and edit them ourselves. And I remember Austin brought in a straight-up Incubus mixtape that just was so profane but also so sweet, and we edited it perfectly. I had my gangster rap mixtape we used to play in 7th grade art class.
Incubus in themselves is not that profane.
That profane, right. There was just some
They have
sketchy
a couple
songs.
words.
The point is, I was trying to figure out a way to introduce Incubus to Tommy because he said he's listened to him a little bit, but not much. What is the pinnacle? Because we decided the other night when we were hanging out, this is probably the greatest Venn diagram mashup of our two musical tastes. Probably the band that we both enjoy the most together. What Incubus album should we give to Tom?
I don't know, dude. That's hard. I mean, Make Yourself, I think, was kind of their like crossover
breakout,
big time, you know. But like Science, I think Tommy would like that because it's very weird.
Very weird.
Like very raw, very experimental, progressive for the time. I mean, even now, whatever. And then Morning View, the follow-up to Make Yourself, is brilliant.
The Crow After the Murder.
Crow After the Murder has become maybe my favorite album.
I think it's my favorite album of Incubus's.
I don't know. It's hard to say, man. But whatever.
This is the Miseducation of Tommy Evans. Brought to you by Tutel Nuanez, 129 ESPN Missoula. Let's talk some NBA. You were up skiing snowball yesterday, so you were a little behind on the live results.
I was. I went for a little hike yesterday.
That's good. Okay, hope I'm not getting you in trouble by saying that. I don't know.
No. It's
just the great blue wilderness up there, right?
Yeah. I mean, it might have been in trouble with my mom had she been in town, but she's in Italy.
She's in Italy.
I can do whatever I want on Mother's Day.
Well, there is YouTube on in Italy, so in case Jenny and Chris are watching, I doubt they are, but if they are.
Hey, Ma.
Hey, Ma. Yesterday, Game 7, NBA playoffs, 2 epic games. Honestly, the Timberwolves. Excuse me, the Timberwolves.
Wow.
Freudian slip. The Blazers Nuggets game was honestly brutal. The first half.
First half was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch. Both teams playing really hard. Neither team shooting it well. The Nuggets had a pretty unique game plan to try to take the ball out of Damian Lillard's hands. Because of that, CJ McCollum had a lot of opportunities, but Blazers did not shoot it well. Missed 16 of their first 17 threes. They were down as many as 17 points. Denver, the best record in the NBA on their home court this year. No team in the NBA won twice in a row in Denver in the last 2 years. So that is as good of a home court advantage as you will find. The elevation, the fan base, all that stuff. The fact that they're, I think, the second youngest team in NBA playoff history, for them to have the second best record in the West, a testament to them, a testament to the progress of Nikola Jokic. And I thought Jamal Murray really came of age during this playoffs. And the Nuggets were cruising. They were up 17 points, and it looked like it might get ugly. It looked like maybe the Blazers would go down in a blaze. You know, the Blazers had already fended off elimination once with a great win in Portland in Game 6 with their backs against the wall. But somehow, some way, the Blazers kept chipping away. They kept chipping away. And the one Achilles heel of the Nuggets this whole year is in crunch time. Who can get their own shot besides Jokic? And what they know, everybody knows that that's where they're going. And if you shut him down, they really have nowhere to turn. And the Blazers ended a game on a big run. And all of a sudden, now the Blazers are into the Western Conference Finals after a 100-96 win in Denver. It's the first time the Blazers have been in the Western Conference Finals since I think we were in middle school. I think it's been since 2000.
Yeah, that's right.
And Scottie Pippen.
And the Jailblazers.
It was the Jailblazers, man. Rasheed Wallace, Isaiah Ryder.
That's a sweet team.
Jermaine O'Neal. But, I mean, it's crazy that, I mean, the Blazers have been probably the most consistent Western Conference team besides the Spurs in terms of just making it to the playoffs. You know, I think they had the run of about 25 straight, which is the NBA record. Then they fell off post-Jailblazers for a minute, but now they've kind of rebuilt it, and they've been solid this decade. But to not be in the Western Conference Finals since then, great performance by them. But I guess first question for you is, who would have ever thought that Damian Lillard would have the game he had yesterday? He did not shoot the ball well.
Right.
And that the Blazers would thrust themselves into the position that they're in now, Final Four in the NBA, taking on the Golden State Warriors. But so much of the credit goes to CJ McCollum.
Sure. And I mean, that was so obvious. He scored 38 points, shot the ball. And my goodness, the shots he was making. I mean, tough shots, creating and finishing and stroking. I mean, he just had a phenomenal game. It was well, offensively, it was a beautiful, beautiful performance. And obviously, without that, they don't win that game. And I think that was an accentuation of the rest of the series, because after Dame had the 50-point, 37-foot bombshell, like one of the best games in playoffs probably ever.
A star is born at that moment.
Right? Like, where do you go from there? And you have this expectation lumped on your shoulders. You're in the spotlight. Everybody's talking about you. Everybody's got a mic in your face, blah, blah, blah. And you're kind of at that point, people are waiting and wanting that to happen again. And for Dame, it didn't really happen this series. He didn't have even one really big game. I mean, he had 32 the other night, but it was a good game, but it wasn't a great game. And that was really his best game of the series. And CJ had to step up, and he did all series long, and obviously especially last night. What's more impressive, though, or I think what's better news for the Blazers is that they're getting enough out of their other guys that they don't need both Dame and CJ to have big games. If one of those guys has a big game, they're going to be in the game at the end. And they're playing scrappy defense. They're getting to the ball. They're hustling guys around. Zach Collins, people have been saying he's had to step up, and he really has, man. I think one of the commentators last night was making a comment about this kid's a competitor. And he is, man. He's fiery. And, like, I know a lot of people don't love him.
He's abrasive.
He's kind of like almost like a pretty boy Gonzaga, whatever.
He is.
But honestly, he's fiery. He's got something in his gut, and he wants to win, and he wants to grit it out, and he doesn't want to be your friend. Like, even though he may not have street credit to really be staring guys down and getting in people's faces, he does. Like, he does that, and he has that attitude and that personality, and I think for this Blazers team, that's a big deal. On top of his play, on both ends, really. I mean, with Jokic, what do you do with that guy? And especially, obviously, with Nurk being out, and then with Cantor having the bum shoulder, like, I think without Collins stepping up and answering the call a bit, the Blazers are in a different story right now. So they've had contributions from other guys other than CJ and Dame. But that's the other thing that other teams have to be scared of. If Dame doesn't show up, CJ does. And if CJ doesn't show up, Dame does. And guess what? If both of them show up, good luck.
Good luck. Damian Lillard, 3 of 17 from the floor, 2 of 9 from beyond the arc, just 13 points. But CJ McCollum, 37 points, 17 of 29 shooting. And it has the professionalism that exists with the Trailblazers, and the way that each and every guy in their rotation accepts their role and is ready to go. I mean, a guy like Al-Farouq Amino played terrible early in the series, good in the middle of the series, only played 7 minutes in Game 7.
Is that right?
But
wow.
But the ebbs and flows of that, Zach Collins played quality minutes down the stretch. Like you said, he's not scared. He's fearless. And like you said, he doesn't have the street cred yet, but the only way to earn it is by playing like he's playing.
Yeah.
I've turned the corner on him big time because I don't necessarily like his personality. I do think he's a little bit edgy, but also kind of pretty. But regardless, I got a lot of respect for that guy because he's been a stud. Rodney Hood.
I mean,
Rodney Hood, like,
hold on. Charles Barkley
Hood
saying Rodney Hood is one of my favorite things now.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Rodney
Hood sort of seemed like he remade his career here these last 2 months with the Blazers because he was good in Utah, irrelevant in Cleveland, and was really good for the Blazers. And then he tweaks his knee, he's out. And Evan Turner hasn't played in the whole series. I don't remember Evan Turner playing really any quality minutes in the series leading up to it. And Evan Turner gives them crunch time minutes down the stretch. He scores 14 points overall off the bench. And it's just a testament to everybody on the Blazers being ready. And then the other story we have to touch on in the Blazers eliminating the Nuggets is the story of Enes Kanter. If those who haven't been paying attention, because of his religious beliefs, Enes Kanter is practicing Ramadan right now, which means you fast from
the month of May.
The month of May during daylight. So when the sun is up, you cannot eat. So Ennis
He gets
Cancer,
up at 4 a.m.
He
and
gets up at
starves.
3:45, 4 a.m., eats spaghetti and peanut butter sandwiches, and on down the line. The thing that I think is so unbelievable about this, and honestly kind of mystifying and maybe potentially even dangerous, is that you're not allowed to drink water. So he's drinking no fluids during NBA games. He's obviously loading up on fluids during the night, but when it's a game like it was yesterday, where you're talking about a 3:30 Eastern time tip, that means you've probably been awake for at least 7 or 8 hours. You haven't had any water, and then you're playing 40 minutes in an NBA game. It just seems crazy.
That is wild. I didn't actually realize that part of it. That's crazy.
Great win by the Blazers. I know a lot of people around here have sort of gravitated towards becoming Blazers fans, but when you get to this point in the playoffs, you're talking about the Eastern and Western Conference semifinals, the final 8. You've had a great year. You have had a really good year, and but a lot of times when these series end, the question is, what's next? And I think that there's a varying level of questioning that can happen right now in the NBA. For example, when you win game 1 and then you lose 4 straight to the Bucks and you're the Celtics, you have a lot of questions. You were supposed to be a championship contender this year, and you kind of just backed your way out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
When you're the Philadelphia 76ers, you go down to a shot bouncing on the rim 4 times by Kawhi Leonard, and you're out. But it still puts you at a crossroads because you didn't fulfill where you thought your upper-level expectations are, and you have a lot of assets, but maybe not assets to go together if you're the 76ers. On the other hand, though, I thought that this Portland and Denver series was so compelling, not only because it was 2 teams that weren't on TV a lot during the year, but are really fun to watch. We saw the emergence of at least 2 and maybe not 3 superstars in for sure Lillard against the Thunder, and then refortifying it now, still being in the playoffs. But then also McCollum. I mean, it's crazy that McCollum's never been an all-star. I think C.J. McCollum is probably the best player in the NBA to never be an all-star at this point after yesterday's performance. And then you got a guy like Jokic who defies all odds, does not look like he should be what he is, and he is. He is legitimately a top 10, 12 player. I think he's probably in the running for first-team All-NBA. But I guess my question is, though, if you're the Nuggets, you're not in the same situation as the Celtics.
No.
I mean, you just run it back, right? You just say, let's
yeah.
roll.
Well, okay, so I'll say a couple things. Generally, the NBA is at least from what I know, I don't follow other sports as closely, but it is the most reactionary league that I know of.
Because one player can make such a huge difference, right?
Well, no, because people just overreact so much. And I'm talking about night in, night out. Like, you could be talking about game 30 of the season, and you may have like a nationally televised big matchup, whatever. What do the commentators post-game do? After, oh, man, they got issues in LA, yada, yada. They're really going to have to do some soul searching. You're talking about, it's like November. Chill out, right? The same thing happens after a playoff loss. And here's my example, the Houston Rockets.
Totally.
Chris Paul gets hurt in Game 5. They win that game. They're up 3-2. They probably, if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, and you can't say for certain, but they probably come out and beat the Warriors in the Western Cup last year.
Last year, yeah.
Okay. I understand there's contracts that you got to get rid of, and there's just business decisions you have to make. But in terms of personnel, if you look at the team they had Patrick Beverley, they had Trevor Ariza, they had
Ryan
Anderson, right? And that's the big contract that they had to dump. And he, to be honest, I mean, he had really dipped in production quite significantly that year. But anyway, Patrick Beverley and Trevor Ariza did a lot for that team on the defensive end. And did a lot for that team in the locker room, being 2 vets, being 2 high character guys, being 2 guys that are very respected around the league, and who just work. They're just workhorses, especially Patrick Beverley, I think. And in the case of Patrick Beverley, too, that tenacity and that toughness, that identity, that you lose. Oh, Lou Williams, right? Like, speaking of guys that are absurdly good.
They basically replaced all those guys with Austin Rivers and Chris Paul's $200 million contract.
So.
And Kenneth Faried. Downgrade.
Right,
They
right.
downgraded.
And here's what they did. They reacted. They said, "Oh, we lost. We have to make changes." That's not true. Denver should not make any changes.
No changes. I agree.
I think they're an awesome team.
Awesome.
They've got pieces that work really well together. They've got Jokic as this already big time player who's still on the rise. You got Murray, who is sweet. Dude,
if you get it locked in, he'll be an all-star.
This kid is sweet, dude.
He's
can
4 of
play.
18 yesterday, and that's the Jamal Murray. That's the Jamal Murray effect because he goes on this roller coaster.
And how old is he? 22?
He's 22. And when he hits his lows, they're really low, and you could tell he gets kind of down on himself. But his highs are more often than his lows lately, and he's an unbelievable facilitator. He's an unbelievable shooter. He's an unbelievable ball handler. I agree. I think that the Nuggets have a perfectly constructed roster. They just need to run it back.
I agree. And, I mean, if you can pick up one more piece without losing one of your main contributors, then you do that, obviously.
Well, here's the other thing.
You got to beef up a little bit, maybe.
Here's the other thing. Paul Millsap's the 9th highest-paid player in the NBA. That contract's off the books. It's a 2-year, $62 million contract, one of the most ridiculous contracts in the league. So you probably want to keep Paul Millsap around for leadership, but you could probably pay him 1/3 of the amount and then go get another guy as well. We'll see. But I agree. I think that the Nuggets are in one of the better spots in the NBA. I got a bunch of stuff I want to ask you. I want to ask you who the most stuck team in the league is. I want to ask you about Kevin Durant's injury. I want to ask you about breaking down these Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals. And I want to ask you about Kawhi Leonard's epic buzzer beater.
Doink, 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 doink.
We'll do all that next.
Now from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Nice.
When you need a bank to help ramp up your savings strategy, look to your local bank, Opportunity Bank of Montana. Build confidence in your financial future when you create a rainy day cushion or take care of the nest egg you already have. Opportunity Bank offers options from basic savings to money market accounts and certificates with competitive rates. There's nothing like the feeling of progress, so let's get started today. Come see us at Opportunity Bank of Montana. OpportunityBank.com. Member FDIC.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes, too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
It's time to get geared up for fly fishing season at the Kingfisher's Spring Runoff Sale. From May 11th through the 17th, save up to 30% on in-stock fly rods, waders, boots, reels, flies, and anything else you need to keep catching you fish all season long. Don't see the item you want? No problem. They can special order whatever it is you're after. Snack on coffee and donuts while checking out the latest products from all the top shelf vendors. If your gear closet is looking sparse and your fly selection isn't what you'd like it to be, it's time to load up at the Spring Runoff Sale at the Kingfisher.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up.
If you're looking for the perfect snack and drink combo, then you need to stop into your local Town Pump, where you can get a 12-pack of Corona for $14.99 and a delicious fresh wrap in our deli for only $3.49. Town Pump Food Stores, proud to be part of our community.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
Hey everybody, Ryan Tutel, and I'm here with Josh of the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, there's a lot of lawyers in this area. What makes you different?
At the Advocates, we primarily focus on injury cases. That gives us the experience and the knowledge to correctly evaluate your case and work with insurance companies and other attorneys so you get exactly what you deserve to make you whole again. We take really good care of our clients, and we're going to fight for every single dollar you deserve.
Call 640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers. You deserve an advocate.
Hey,
Tutel Nuanez here. Can't tell you how many times we've heard the face for radio joke since we came on SWX television, but it's been a fun endeavor so far.
And now our esteemed producer Tommy is pushing the envelope even further. We got our own YouTube channel.
That's right. If you want to watch us every day from your computer, your tablet, your cell phone, you can check out Tutel Nuanez on YouTube.
Tutel Nuanez, live every weekday from 4 to 6 in the afternoons on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula, SWX Montana statewide, and now around the planet Earth on YouTube.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Colter Nuanez. The Grizzlies finished with a flourish on their home track on Saturday at Door-Blazer Field. After missing the men's 400-meter final in disappointing fashion, Montana senior sprinter Sterling Renault earned redemption by running an unforgettable leg in the 4x400-meter relay. Renault, a Missoula native, helped the Grizzly relay team reel in the competition during the third lap, and the true freshman Xavier Melise finished the championship sprint, leading the Grizz to the long relay gold medal in the final event of the Big Sky Outdoor Track and Field Championships. The Grizz men took third as a team. Hannah Fowler, Missoula Big Sky product, broke her school record in the hammer throw once again, heaving 209 feet and 10 inches to win the event by more than 17 feet. She was named the meet's most outstanding female performer. In the team competition, the Sacramento State women won the outdoor title for the 8th time in 12 years, behind Tawny Moore's record-shattering time of 13.11 seconds in the 100-meter hurdles and 18 points in the 100 and 200-meter respectively from Emily Morgan. Weber State's women finished second. In the men's team competition, Southern Utah, behind 18 points from Helena native Aiden Reed, won its first ever Big Sky title, edging out perennial powerhouse and defending champion Northern Arizona. And finally, the Montana softball team season came to a close on Friday afternoon with an 8-2 loss to Sac State at the Big Sky Conference Championship Tournament. The Grizzlies end their season with a 25-31 record. Broadcasting to you live from the sauna known as the Kurtz Polaris Studios. It's hot in here. Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway or Highway 83 in Sealy. Find them online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you want to check us out online, 1029ESPN.com. You can also hit us up on Facebook, Facebook.com/ESPN Missoula, or you can get SkylineSportsMT.com. Just rolled out our first in a series of podcasts, Grizzlies by the Numbers. We'll be doing Grizz by the Numbers and Bobcats by the Numbers, breaking down the Montana State football rosters, number 1 through number 99. So 3 installments of each of those. Andrew Houghton joined me for the Grizz ones, and Brooks Nuanez joined me for the Bobcat ones. So be sure to check those out. SkylineSportsMT.com. Before we get into this Western Eastern Conference Finals preview, by the way, in studio, Colter Nuanez, Austin Tutel, filling in for Ryan Tutel.
What's happening?
Ryan Tutel's in the Philippines. Living the dream, living the nightmare. I don't know. 100% humidity sounds scary to me, but he was sending pictures, so that means he's alive.
That's a good sign.
It's a good sign. But we're talking all NBA all the time. If you want to get a hold of us, give us a call, 329-1899. And also, word of the day time. Text the word of the day, 200-8184. That's your number, 200-8184. Word of the day today, Whitewater. We need you to text to win all week long. The winner gets a raft trip for 2 through Adventure Missoula, whitewater rafting. Anytime this summer, just book it out. Thanks to Adventure Missoula for being a part of this thing. So text us 200-8184, word of the day, Whitewater. Slugfest between the Sixers and the Raptors. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It seemed like the Sixers were seizing momentum in the last minute. They get it to tied, but 4.2 seconds left. The Raptors have one last chance. You knew the ball was going to Kawhi Leonard. I didn't think he got that great of a shot. He basically shoots a fall-away 22-foot-2 with his foot inside the line. Ball hits back iron.
Front iron. Bounces straight up.
Every point of the rim. Doink, dink, doink, dunk. In. The picture of Kawhi Leonard crouched, looking up at the thing, with the fan touching him and Joel Embiid's face just aghast.
Have you seen the still from the baseline under the hoop of right after he releases the ball with Embiid?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
It's one of the greatest pictures I've ever seen.
It is wild.
And the ball goes through, and it's bedlam in Toronto. I'm sure the party in Toronto was on par with any party in the world. last night. Unbelievable.
It's the biggest shot in their history.
Absolutely the biggest shot in their history. It's the biggest win in their history.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it makes sense. It's a young franchise, and it's not like they've had a overwhelming amount of success, so it makes sense. But it's still cool to see. Like, you watch that and you go, hey, we just saw the biggest moment in Toronto Raptors history. That's kind of neat.
Last break, we were talking about the overreactionary nature of the NBA. Last year, the Toronto Raptors had the best record in the NBA. They had the coach of the year in the NBA, and they got swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it wasn't really close. And I think a lot of people thought maybe they overreacted. But the overreaction was a little bit different because you went and got one of the premier players in the league in Kawhi Leonard. But they remade their entire roster. They kept Kyle Lowry, but they traded for Kawhi Leonard. They traded for Marc Gasol. They hired Nick Nurse, who was a guy that nobody had heard of. Pascal Siakam comes out of absolutely nowhere. Fred VanVleet develops into one of the great backup point guards in the NBA. Serge Ibaka still solid. Regardless, full overturn in Toronto, and now here they are in the Eastern Conference Finals, I believe, for the first time in their history.
I don't think that was an overreaction to revamp and retool everything either, because they had this isolation model. I hated watching Toronto last year and the year before and whatever, because as talented as DeMar DeRozan is in many ways, he's kind of like Kyle Lowry in a way, because they just they're individually really great players, really talented offensive players, and have some great natural gifts. But I don't know that they definitively make your team. They make your team better. They don't make your team. They're not going to make your team a winning team when it comes down to playoffs against elite teams. You might have a really good regular season. You might go out there and be better than any team on a given night. One-on-one, here we go. Let's lace them up and go. But as far as what a winning franchise is made up of, isolation ball does not cut it. It just does not. And I think that's what the Raptors had. So they had to go in a different direction. Even though they had the best record in the league, you can't go back at the playoffs and say, hey, we have something that might work. It wasn't going to work.
Especially when you get a chance to get to Kawhi Leonard, too. That's why it wasn't necessarily overreaction. I was just shocked that they fired Dwayne Casey. And then I replaced him not with a headliner, but with a guy that nobody had ever heard of. And now here Nick Nurse is in the Final Four of the NBA playoffs. But I want to ask you about the Warriors, because I sit here and beat this dead horse all the time. More better players is not necessarily better in the NBA. I think the Sixers are a great example of that. Mm-hmm. The Warriors won 73 games before they had Kevin Durant. They won the championship the last 2 years. So it's not like as if he's a bad addition. He's actually, in fact, I think the best player in the league right now. But he gets hurt, and the Warriors don't miss a beat.
Speaking of which, real quick, what's his status? Do we know? Have they? I mean, they've been pretty hush-hush, right?
Yeah, they've been totally hush-hush. What I saw was somebody that tore their Achilles, but they're saying it's a calf injury.
Well, right. That's what it looked like, and that's what even Reggie Miller was speculating live when it happened. But in game, they said it was a strained calf. And if they haven't come out and said it's a torn Achilles yet, it can't be, because I think there's rules against you have to have some level of disclosure, right?
Yeah, I think that's the case. It's certainly the case at the NFL. But I also think that there's ways to skirt around it. I mean, Todd Gurley was never put on the injury report accurately.
Hey, if anyone knows, give us a call.
Hey, yeah, if you got KD on speed dial. But the Warriors close out the Rockets with seemingly no trouble. And, you were just talking about isolation basketball. A lot of the best players in the NBA right now are isolation players. You're either a pick-and-roll player or you're an isolation player. There's very few guys that can move with and without the ball that are still elite. That's why the Warriors are the best team in the league, because they have three dudes who can play with and without the ball in Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Kevin Durant is the one that he's learned a little bit to fit into the flow, but he's more of an isolation player. You give Kevin Durant the ball in the high post, and you get out the way.
But he's also the best scorer in the league, so it's
it's a give and take for sure.
Right.
But what I saw in that closeout game was a return to the ball movement that made the Warriors so transcendent.
Yes.
So elite.
Made him so much fun to watch again.
If the Warriors, depending on Kevin Durant's status, the Warriors, say KD is out for the rest of the playoffs, I think the Warriors are even stronger favorite.
It's an interesting thought.
And if they were to win, if Kevin Durant's not playing in the NBA Finals for the Golden State Warriors, I'll be rooting for the Golden State Warriors. Because I think it would be the best thing ever for the NBA if they won the championship without him, showed him the door, shuffled him right out of town because he's already
guaranteed out.
I mean, that's been the most exhausting narrative of this whole season is how the Warriors are gunning for their 4th title in 5 years, their 3rd straight. And the Kevin Durant, where's Kevin Durant going? Why are Kevin Durant, Draymond Green fighting? All this just garbage has been the thing that's overwhelmed the storylines in the league. And I want Kevin Durant out the door. I want him to go somewhere else.
Yeah, right. I mean, I, like most people, I think never wanted him to come there. I mean, that's what kind of tainted
the whole thing.
Purity of what the Warriors had become and had built. And they, part of it, again, like we've talked about this idea of voter fatigue, right? Which is why, we can have this conversation of why didn't LeBron win more MVPs or why hasn't he? It's because he's stupidly the most dominant player every year, right? But he doesn't win MVP because you get tired of the same thing, right? With the Warriors, that was going to happen anyway.
Right.
But then when Durant was at it, it was like, okay, enough is enough. It's not even fun anymore. We get it. You're going to win. Like, I don't want to see this anymore. And Durant's move of going there made the Warriors very unlikable in that moment. And now, having him get hurt and having the Warriors play like they did in game, 6, right? That has sort of sparked this, like, enchantment with the Warriors again. It's kind of interesting.
And it would just be so fitting if they could win it without him, and then instead of him leaving them, they just showed him the door.
Right. Yeah.
Shuffle him on out.
Yeah. And then what happens with DeMarcus Cousins next year if they win? I mean, I don't know. His contract's got to be more than 1 year. Right?
No, it's 1 year.
Is it 1 year?
He signed for the league minimum, veteran minimum, 1 year, $5 million.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wow. That's incredible.
Totally incredible. So I want to handicap these NBA conference finals.
What was your original question?
We're getting there.
Okay.
We're talking NBA final or NBA conference finals. Kevin Durant and maybe a little Zion Williamson as well.
Yeah.
Tutel Nuanez, 129 ESPN Missoula.
Alpine Touch is legendary around the state of Montana for providing delicious seasonings for every grilling occasion. Now, Alpine Touch offers so much more, from a savory new barbecue sauce to spicy pepper blends to tasty barbecue rubs. In addition to the classic, Alpine Touch has a variety of seasoning salts for whatever you need to spice up. Now that the holidays are over, Alpine Touch makes a perfect thank you gift to show your friends and relatives you love them. Alpine Touch, available at retail locations around Montana or online at alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Les Schwab is proud to introduce 2 of our best tires ever just in time for summer. There's our exclusive open range AT that we believe is our quietest, smoothest, and best all-season traction tire ever. Or the Reputation, our exclusive high-mileage premium passenger tire. Get $50 off alignment when you purchase a set of 4 open range AT or Reputation tires. Book an appointment today at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limited time only. See details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Good news. Missoulians can finally move into what we love best, being outside. Garden City Paint and Glass can help you get a head start on all those outside home improvement projects. Now is also a great time to start getting a jump on cracked windows and broken screens. Enjoy up to 25% off select products. And be sure to watch for PPG rebates to help the job along. Look good, stay comfortable, and keep energy costs down at Garden City Paint and Glass. 3217 Brooks or 549-0608.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
Hey there, Colter Nuanez from Tutel Nuanez 1029 ESPN Missoula here with Tom from Aspen Sound. Tom got me a great deal on an automatic car starter this winter. Now it's summer. What sort of stuff you guys got going on down there, Tom?
Well, Colter, coming into the summertime, we're picking up on the window tinting front. So if you need your windows tinted, give us a call. We'll get you scheduled up. Boats and ATVs are starting to come in full swing, and we're also starting to see the hot rods come out to play. Anything audio related, let us know. We'll get you taken care of.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Tutel and Nuanez. Listen to the podcast on the TuneIn Radio app or on iTunes. 1029ESPN.com.
Tutel and Nuanez broadcasting to you live to the Kurtz Polaris Studios with the door wide open because it's so hot in here. 5:45. We'll see if we can get any.
That's what you
ambient
get.
noise.
That's what you get when you get the good-looking Tutel. Hey,
If you haven't noticed, both Tutels irrational levels of confidence in their ugly faces. Tutel Nuanez, Austin Tutel in studio with me, Colter Nuanez. If you missed anything in the show, check it out on the podcast. Podcast available on the TuneIn Radio app or on iTunes or at the station website, 1029ESPN.com. The podcast available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Marching on through our NBA Hour 2, and why not? What a great weekend in the NBA. 2 Game 7s on Sunday. Portland Trailblazers and the Toronto Raptors advance to the conference finals, playing their respective 1 seeds, the Western Conference champion, regular season champion Golden State Warriors, and the Eastern Conference regular season champion Milwaukee Bucks. First question.
Okay.
Do the Blazers have a chance against the Warriors? They do.
Yes.
Why?
Because Dame gets up for the Warriors.
And he gets buckets because they don't have anybody that can guard him.
And he gets buckets.
Because if they put Klay Thompson on him, then McCollum can get buckets.
Right. Well, okay, it's not true to say that they don't have people they can guard, because they do. They have Klay Thompson, who is one of the best and probably my favorite on-ball defenders in the league. Like, it's him and Kawhi, I think, are the top 2. And so they can actually bottle him up to a point. And honestly, I mean, Draymond Green, he's not going to be a guy that's going to lock him up, but they can throw him out onto the perimeter. He's a really active defender. He's a really smart defender. And even if he's not guarding Lillard, his help defense is really incredible. And so he's going to have issues. And, I mean, the Warriors are just a super active team. Sean Livingston, he's got perimeter length. Anyway, they have options. But, yeah, I mean, Lillard can defer in those situations. But here's the deal. He has this chip, right? And he sees Steph get all this glory, all this love, all this praise, as he should, as he deserves. But, you know, Dame's still, I mean, maybe not now with this whole, like, 50-point, 37-foot bomb, whatever, all the attention he's got since then. But he still feels like he's super overlooked.
Totally.
And I'm going to tell you who Dame thinks is the best shooter in the world is Damian Lillard. And he's out to prove it. And Oakland is his hometown. Like, he is trying to show out. He's going to have Mama. He's going to have the boy. He's going to have everybody there, dude. And so it's going to be interesting to see his sustainability of playing at, I think game 1, he's going to go bonkers. I really do, especially because he didn't have a great series against Denver. It'll be interesting to see if he can sustain that. But they have a puncher's chance. Do I think they're going to win? No. I think they go down in 6, but they've got a chance, yes.
7 minutes left here. I'm going to give you something free. Why not? Feel like doing it. It's been sitting here the whole time. For those of you watching on SWX Montana, you can see this right here. It's the Grand Slam package, Alpine Touch. For those listening to you on the radio, This thing has the pepper blend, the hickory smoked, the prairie fire, and the all-purpose seasonings. This is money right here. This will last you for a long, long time.
I'm going to tell you this much. If you don't call, I'm taking that home.
Hey, AlpineTouch.com. You can find this at AlpineTouch.com or retail locations around the state. You can also check out their new Unleash the Freshness grinder seasonings. You can put them in the grinder and you can grind them up yourself. So release the freshness onto the grill. But right now, if you give us a call, 329-1899. I got this Grand Slam package for you. This thing's $19.99 retail around the state of Montana. Give us a call, though, for 329-1899. I got this for you for free. First caller, just give Tommy your address, and we'll send you a Grand Slam Alpine Touch package. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice. Number 2, Kawhi Leonard has reemerged as one of the 5 best players in the league. I think there's no question.
Yeah.
And I would argue that with who's left in the playoffs, I think the only players that are better either play for the Warriors or their name is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Besides that, I think Kawhi Leonard is the best player left in the playoffs. Would you agree?
Easily. There's no argument.
Right.
You can't even mount an argument. I mean, there's only 4 teams left.
Well, sure.
Either someone on Toronto's better than him, or
I mean, I would take
Damian.
I would take
Damian's
Kawhi,
not better than
at this
Kawhi.
moment. I think I would take Kawhi Leonard over every single guy left in the playoffs besides Steph Curry and Giannis.
Over KD, or are you discounting him?
Yeah, that's questionable.
Dude, KD's the best scorer. I mean,
he's one of the best scorers ever.
He's one of the best scorers ever.
There's no doubt.
He might be the best scorer of all time.
Handicap this Bucks.
It's weird. He's a freak.
Handicap this Bucks 76 or Bucks Raptors series for me.
Wait.
I mean,
what?
the Bucks got it rolling right now. Do the Raptors have a chance, or is Milwaukee marching in the playoffs? Milwaukee showed me some big time stuff. I thought after Game 1, I thought the Celtics were going to move on.
I think Milwaukee comes out of it, and I probably say it's only a 6-game series. I think Milwaukee. Actually, both these teams are kind of interesting because Milwaukee's whole thing last year is they didn't play defense, and guess what they were this year? One of the most efficient defensive teams in the league. So they kind of re-identified also. So it's interesting that these two teams that had great success last year, but have totally different identities this year,
and new coaches
are now meeting in the conference finals. And by the way, I mean, Toronto's never been in the conference finals. When's the last time the Bucks were in the? Was it like Lou Alcindor days, or
when they had Sidney Moncrief and not right post Lou Alcindor, early '80s, I think 1982.
Okay. Oh, right. Yep.
Right
they
after,
that.
They traded Lou Alcindor to the Lakers, and then they had Sidney Moncrief and a couple other guys. But that was the last time. 35 plus years.
So that's great. I think for the league in itself that's our Eastern Conference Finals. It also might be part of the narrative of like, what is the Eastern Conference? Like, anyway.
I mean, I don't know, though. I don't really buy into that narrative because here's the thing that's special about those two teams being in the conference finals is that they have 2 of the best players in the league.
That's true.
And that's why they are where they're at. And the fact, I mean, the Bucks are so lucky that they were able to draft and develop Giannis. And I hope he stays because I think that would be tremendous for the league.
Yeah.
And Kawhi, I mean, they're rolling out the red carpet for him. They're going to try to throw everything they can at him to get him to stay. And if he leaves, it's going to be a seismic shift. Everybody's talking about where's KD going, where's Kyrie going. I think where Kawhi's going is a way more impactful thing than either of those other 2 guys.
Well, and that's why this series is crazy because if Toronto goes to the finals, even if they don't win, I think Kawhi could stay.
Right.
And no one expects him to stay, but especially after last night, now people are like, you know what? Maybe he will stay. Who knows? And I don't know what Toronto's position is right now to bring someone else into Toronto, but if they can swing something, they can appeal to Kawhi, hey, dude, you took us to the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe the finals, depending on what happens. If we get you one more piece, like, stay with us. The people obviously in Toronto love this guy. How can you not? You took a franchise deeper than they've ever been, and everyone in Toronto wants him to stay. So I don't know. Drake's there, sweet.
Drake, big lobbying point. 2 minutes. I agree. I think it's Bucks Warriors in the finals. I think that the Bucks are an absolutely fascinating matchup for the Warriors because they got the one dude
Giannis,
who can disrupt everything.
Dude, he's something else, man. And he's tough to deal with on the defensive end too.
It would be truly one of the most unlikely stories in sports history if the Bucks won the NBA championship.
It'd be wild.
If the Bucks derailed the Warriors championship run, their three-peat bid, Giannis would be a legend forever. He wouldn't have to do anything else in his career, and I think he's going to go on and have a spectacular career after this. But
yeah,
but I think it would be one of the craziest stories in sports history.
It'd be wild. Ask me about Zion.
1 minute. Give me your Zion take. You think he's better? You think he's more ready for the NBA than I do?
Probably.
I think Zion is I think he's a transcendent talent. I think he has the magic. I think he really does have that true, intangible it factor. I just don't think he has an elite NBA skill yet besides his size and explosion.
So what he's going to be day one, elite rebound. He's like our rich man's Charles Barkley. Elite defender, or he's going to be a really effective defender. He's going to be an elite top-tier rebounder in the league.
Yeah.
He's going to get you double-digit rebounds, promise you this.
Yep.
He's going to get you 6 to 8 assists. He's a passing player, dude. He's an unselfish player. He can handle in transition. He plays downhill. He's gonna be problems, man. He's not gonna go out and score 20 a game, I don't think. He'll probably be more like 16. But if you're talking about 16, 11, and 6 or 7 your rookie year, those are strong numbers, my friend. And he's only gonna develop a shot.
Hey folks, the best season of the year is upon us. That's right, it's tax return season, and there's one place to have the most fun and make that refund check stretch further than anywhere else, Selway Armory. Selway Armory has the largest selection of